my geekers, excuse me, my tweakers, and my goons. Welcome back to Solace. And today, we're going to start finally talking about some more discernment. I enjoy talking about discernment specifically because it's kind of part of the point of life. I can explain that later, but for now, hope you've been geeking, tweaking, and gooning less. Geeking and tweaking more, gooning less. I've been doing some more geeking and tweaking. I actually just came up with something that is pretty much the shit. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty much the best way to put it. It's the shit. It's the shit, and I can't be any more excited. So, taking that energy and putting it into this, I would like to start off by getting into the topic, I guess. Good and bad lies exist. This relies in the principle of polarity. Okay, I'm going to start using some hermetic principles to convey my points. Now, I want to use good and bad lies as the primary example of discerning because we all lie, okay? But you could consider lies to be like a generally conceptually thought of as bad thing. Incorrect. Because obviously you could think of like at least 20 moments in your life where lying would be the optimal thing to do, whether it be to preserve someone's reality or to prevent an unnecessary amount of harm from happening to someone. Now, you could also think of the truth as the holy and righteous thing to always completely do. And to that I say, there have been plenty of times where you have chosen that route and you've seen the results that happen afterwards, and they aren't beneficial for either party. So, when we start thinking about doing things as a lie to not only benefit one another, but to also take into consideration the fact that we have a lot more complexity to us than just needing the truth. Now, do not take this as me saying we should lie all the time, because obviously, absolutely not. Just like with anything in life, there should always be a good amount of balance. You shouldn't do too much or too little of either or, right? There's always a middle path. Now, that middle path is not being manipulative, but it is being correct and optimal in how you choose to use your words. Sometimes the truth is literally too harsh, and you may think to yourself, well, at least I told the truth. You've probably ruined that person's perception on others completely in this reality to an extent that they're not going to be able to recover in this life. Now, whether or not their soul may need that, it's not necessarily up to you to decide. However, what you can choose to do is to still provide that message in a way that does not apply the full frontal force of how hard the truth can be for some people. Unfortunately, not everyone can handle the truth. And if it were to be that case, lies wouldn't need to exist to begin with. But we need to start to take back some of the way that we perceive some of these things, because it ends up leaving a very strange complex about us that feeds the shadow more than anything else. And we don't want to feed the shadow. We want to be one with the shadow more so. Feeding the shadow is more so like having your chained dog like in a cold, damp basement, and you like throw it raw human meat and expect it to be a happy, loving thing. No, you need to go be with your dog, lay down with it, pet the dog, etc., etc. Now, let's think of why lies can be considered to be an ultimate bad for some people. The idea that you would take away someone's privilege to know exactly what they are entitled, I will say, to know, can be considered to be a bad thing. Rightfully so. In the same way that honesty is like an 80%, 20% good to evil, lies can be considered an 80 to 20% But where we need to be lying is in that 20%, not the 80. Okay, 80% of the time you don't need to lie. You don't. Now the occasional fucking lie for whatever reason starts to get into like just psychological warfare, and you don't even want to get to that point. You don't. So what I suggest is you take into consideration how much you may lie and tell the truth on a weekly basis. I'm not going to say daily because you may not have that much social interaction on a daily basis. However, on a weekly basis, you've at least said 5 truthful things and 5 lies. Unless you are the outlier that has a habit of just telling basically the truth regardless of how you really feel about it, fuck you type shit, or just always lying and can't help yourself, like SZA, you start to take into consideration the fact that you have certain things you need to work on. You do, but we all do, and it doesn't make you any different from us. Okay, everybody can get better and everybody can do worse. It's all in our conscious choice to utilize whatever we want to in the way that we want to, right? So I appreciate how my phone always cuts me off when I start talking consistently. But I was basically done anyways. I just wanted to bring up that topic and to start some form of conversation about it, even if it's not in the comments in your own household. Just think of times where, maybe lying isn't really that bad. Be real with yourself, okay? Like, I think we should stop acting so childish as a society and understand that sometimes things need to not go exactly as holistically as you think it should be, because that world does not exist. We live in a world of both good and evil, purple and yellow, red and blue, fire and water, okay? So when you think of good and bad, I want you to think about the fact that there's bad and good and bad. Because for good to exist, there would have to be bad, and for bad to exist, there would have to be good, okay? Now, and this will be the last thing I say, be patient with yourself always, and understanding that this is like another step in your journey to understanding you should not hold guilt for certain things that you may have lied about in the name of other people's sake. It was your conscious choice and you did it in goodwill. Whether or not you may have decided to do that against their knowing, no harm, no foul. Now, obviously, don't use this as a reason to do stupid and evil, manipulative shit, because it will come back to get your ass. It will. Not in the exact same way, but some way that will come back to you. So, be righteous in your lying. And take it easy, my geekers, my tweakers, and my goons. I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Also, I feel as though, and this is my personal opinion, but intentions tends to supersede thought. So if your intention going into saying something that would be considered a lie isn't something that is harmful to the individual, or to be completely harmful to that individual, it's not really up to you to provide that truth. It will come to them some way. But if it's, for example, something that has too much weight, and it doesn't always have to include something you doing bad, it doesn't, but it could be something and you know that they would want you to tell them, but you also know how badly that would affect them at that point in time, shit like that. That's what I mean when I say choosing to use your discernment when it comes to lying, okay? Lying has a very negative connotation to it, I understand 100%, but take into consideration the well-being of your loved ones, okay? And I know that probably comes off so backwards because I'm telling you basically to lie when the time calls for it. But I just want you to have that option available to yourself and to not feel so guilty when you're doing the right thing and it may not feel so right, okay? There's a lot of possibilities in this universe that allow for certain lies to be the right thing to do. Please keep that in mind. It's not always a 100% negative. There is no 100% net negative in this world to exist. There isn't. Everything has some good to it to some degree, even if you can't see it at that point in time. So, glad I got that out too. I love you all. Take it easy.